Hey folks, Tony here again from Crate Diggers Music and More in Rhinelander, Wisconsin. And I believe this is the third installment of I'm starting a record store. If you haven't watched the other two, go back and watch the other two, at least the first couple minutes, because that'll explain a little bit more about what's going on. So I don't have to do it again. Today I am actually out in the garage working on some record bins for the store. I don't think I'm going to get them all done. Today is Tuesday, and I am hoping to open on Friday. Or I'm sorry, Saturday. Originally it was going to be Friday. Now it's going to be Saturday. Mostly because I didn't know when September 1st was. So, so September 2nd we're opening. We won't have all the bins done. So I'm going to have to come up with some creative things for that. In terms of probably using some folding tables and just some milk crates on top of them to store the records in for the time being, which is okay because we're called crate diggers. But I kind of wanted to show you what was going on here with that, with the record bins being built, and kind of give you an idea a little bit more of who I am and where I'm coming from and why I'm doing this. So let's take a look at what I've got done so far. So here is the base of the first unit. It's a little over 5.5 foot. I've got another one to build that will be about the same, to cover the 11 foot that is in front of the windows at the store. So I'm trying to build these fairly sturdy. I am not a carpenter. Although normally I'm a little bit better than I've been with these. I had to take this a little slow. I haven't really built much of anything in the past about 5 years. And I'll tell you a little bit more about that later, why that is. And I am in my dad's workshop, which I will also tell you a little bit more about. So using some unfamiliar tools and that sort of stuff. So what's going to happen is this unit here will be the base to support the top of the bins here. And I'm doing it in two pieces because I'm probably going to have to move this into the store myself. And I'm afraid that with them combined and put together, it's going to be too much for me. It may not be too much weight-wise, but it'll just be a pain in the butt. So I'm going to make it a little bit easier on myself. So there it is with the top just sitting on top of the frame. The orange line, which is the edge of the OSB, is at about 30 inches. I wanted to make them tall enough that they were comfortable enough to browse through, but not so tall that somebody who was of shorter stature, you know what I meant, or maybe in a wheelchair or that sort of thing couldn't get at them. The bottom is actually still going to have a piece for a shelf at the bottom of the unit, so that kind of those cull records and dollar records can be down there. It's a small store, so I kind of have to maximize whatever space I can and make it work. Now, I figure I've probably only got, probably 1, 2, 3, 6 more of these to build, roughly, maybe 7. So, like I said earlier, I don't think that we're going to get them all done in the next couple of days after work, after my day job, for the opening. But we will come up with something because I have records and such that I have to sleeve and price yet, and I haven't even set up the point of sale system yet. So that's going to be fun. And really, I only have 2 more nights because I also work the broadcast council for a local radio station for the Lakeland football games. And that is Friday night, so I'm not going to get much done on Friday. Here is just some of the used stuff that I have been collecting and picking up. Just a small portion, actually, of collections I've been buying. And there's actually some really decent stuff in here. But this is some of what's going to be in there. There's a lot of newer stuff, or what I consider newer stuff, and some decent stuff. So we'll see what happens. Yeah, and there's a lot more of this too. Plus, there is a ton of new vinyl that I have bought. So let me sit down for a minute, and we'll talk a little bit about that. Okay, so I'm beat, so I wanted to sit down here and talk to you. So far, the record store is going good. It has been way more work than I anticipated. I kind of thought, we'll knock out the bins pretty quick. Pricing, sleeving, all that shouldn't take too long. But I've kind of dragged my feet a little bit because it's a lot of work and it's been hot and I am fat and I am out of shape. So I get tired pretty easily and I get winded pretty easily. But at the store, we have the counter in, we have security cameras up. We have some stuff going in the window. Hopefully this week, yet I will see the local company that is putting up the vinyl lettering on the windows for me for basically the store sign and such. That would be nice. So I am still planning on opening here on Labor Day weekend in a couple of days. So as I've said earlier, so yeah, it's been a lot more work than I anticipated, a lot more. But it's okay. I need the exercise, and this is really a labor of love for me. And there's a lot of feelings and emotions that go with this. This is something I've wanted to do since I was about 15 years old. It's something I've been whining about for the past 4 or 5 years about, I just wish I could open up a record store. So I want to tell you how I got here, and why now. So, Thanksgiving Day of 2018, my mom died. And I am an only child. My dad was the oldest son on his side. My mom was the oldest daughter on her side. And the three of us were very, very tight-knit and very close. And losing her like we did was really rough. I got remarried, and a few months later, not even a few months, about a month later, my dad had to go in to have a toe removed. He's a diabetic, just like me, or I'm a diabetic, just like him. And to make a long story short, they took off the toe, it wouldn't heal, it got infected, and during all this, the reason that they took the toe off was Dad needed to have a TAVR valve, a heart valve put in. And they wouldn't do it until his toe healed. And the reason they took the toe off was because he had what was called, I forget what they call it. Actually, club toe? Something like that. Basically, the bone was starting to protrude out the end of his toe. And I know that sounds gross. I apologize. So anyways, Dad was sick. He was in the hospital, and he was dealing with all this. And he had been in the hospital for about a month. And it was just, they couldn't get blood flow to the leg for it to heal, and just all kinds of stuff. And because he was a heart patient, it was kind of touch and go, and it was a little tough for them to do that and take that risk. So while he was in the hospital, about 80 miles away, Mom wasn't feeling good. So she had some abdominal pain. She went in. I took her into the emergency room. And long story short, the pain was caused from what they call free air in her abdomen. For some reason, there was air in her body, in her belly. But it was reabsorbing itself. So that wasn't really a big deal. It just was a little painful. Unfortunately, when they x-rayed that, they found that she had what was essentially pancreatic cancer. So cancer in the bile duct between, if I remember correctly, the kidney and the pancreas, something like that. I am not a doctor, but that's what they told us. So so now I had Dad 80 miles away and Mom in the local hospital here, about 15 miles from the house. So Dad got out of the hospital. They put a wound vac on him because they knew Mom was serious. They put a wound vac on him and sent him home kind of to be with Mom and take care of Mom. She was still in the hospital. They put in a port to do chemotherapy, and she just didn't have it in her. And Thanksgiving Day, she passed away in 2018. So, sorry, that was a longer description than I wanted to give you. Thanks for sticking with me. But anyways, so things went along. Dad had his toe finally healed up more or less, or where his toe used to be. And he went and had his heart valve done, and that went very well. And he was starting to feel better. Whoa, what was that? But he was having continuing problems with his breathing. He was a pipe fitter by trade, and so he had some hardening of the lungs from welding gases and mesothelioma. And he was just tired all the time, and he was really lonely. He was really heartbroken about Mom, as we all were. I kind of shut down. I was taking care of Dad at that point, running around. I changed jobs. Keep in mind, I had just gotten married before Mom passed away. It was rough. So, fast forward to February of 2022. Dad was with his lady friend, Janice, who was a sweetheart, and he was tired. He wasn't feeling great, but he was feeling better. And they got into an accident. On a snowy day, they got caught in town. Before they could get home, the snow started. And when they were coming home, he was doing about 25 miles an hour, and somebody hit them head on. They were doing about 60. Dad and Janice both survived. Janice was in much worse shape than Dad, but she has, for the most part, healed, and is getting around and is doing good. Dad, that was kind of the last straw for Dad. He couldn't really recover from that. It just didn't work out. So I was dealing with that, and in July, he just wasn't getting any better. I took him to the emergency room about an hour away. He went in, and it just became this whole kind of finger trap thing of issues that he just couldn't overcome. Between his breathing issues, kidney failure, the diabetes. So I had to make the decision to take him off of, to let him go. Basically, he got to the point where he couldn't eat. He had in his directives that he did not want a feeding tube. They couldn't do, he had been doing home dialysis, and they couldn't, he was too weak to put in a port to do the hemodialysis at the hospital. They couldn't do the home dialysis there for some reason I still don't to this day understand. And basically everything shut down. And he passed away at the end of July last year. So the past year, I've been dealing with all of that. We still have our house, and we moved into my parents' house here, which was their summer home here outside of Rhinelander, and kind of the house I grew up in. all those years coming up here in the summer and the weekends and all that. So, but I kind of shut down too. And when this idea came along to do this, I'd had some money that I had inherited, not much, but a little, and decided this is what I wanted to do with it because I wanted to try and get myself back. Find something that made me excited again. And the record store idea was it. I don't know if it's going to work. I don't know if it's going to be successful. I hope so. I hope Mom and Dad are happy that I'm doing something like this. I have never been much of a risk taker. But I hope that this makes them, I guess, proud of me. That I'm doing something for us and doing something that, has always been important to me and that plays to a passion of mine. So that's kind of my story about why we're doing the record store. I just want Mom and Dad to be happy and proud. And I want to do something that kind of gets me back into, I guess, the swing of things and living for myself. So why don't I take a minute and I'll show you around Dad's garage here and kind of what you're seeing in the background and what we're trying to preserve and hang on to and make a life with. So this is where we live out here outside of Rhinelander in the greenhouse there on the lake. And it's Dad's old truck that I inherited that I've been driving around, and that's my trail Jeep. Dad and I used to do a lot of off-roading back in the day, rock crawling and that sort of thing. And I've never gotten rid of the Jeep, so that's another project that I'm trying to get back to. It's been sitting since basically Mom passed away. But I'm working on it little by little. So, but this was his garage, and he called it the King's Garage. So, like any blue-collar guy, he had tools among tools above tools on top of tools. If he had one of everything, he had two of most of it and three of some of it. Of course, the only thing I can't seem to find around here is a framing square when I was building all this, but we made do. So, this is kind of the workshop that I'm working in to do the bins here. I'm one of those guys that works amongst a mess. I don't pick up as I go. I just kind of throw stuff everywhere, and it drives me a little insane. But it is what it is. So, but yeah, just real quick, I just kind of wanted to show you guys what I'm working with here. So, again, my name is Tony. Crate Diggers, Music and More. We are opening up September 2nd, Saturday, right before Labor Day. We won't be 100%, but we'll be operational. If you like what you're watching and you want to keep following us, please hit the subscribe button. I appreciate it. And we'll talk to you later. Thanks.